Today we're going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda, and a game that to many is one of the best games of the entire franchise, and to many more, the best game ever released on its console. Today we're going to be talking about... no, the game that actually released in its console's lifetime. There we go. WindWaker is one of my absolute favorite games of all time. Released on December 13th, 2002 in Japan, and March 24th, 2003 over here in the States. I absolutely loved this game as a kid, spending literally hundreds of hours just sailing around the Great Sea. And it wasn't because the game was that exciting, I just only owned 3 games as a kid. While the Wii U version is the definitive edition of the game, I mean, let's be honest, who gives a shit about the Wii U? So for today's video, I'm going to be focusing solely on the GameCube edition of the game, for 2 reasons. 1, I actually own a GameCube, and 2, I actually own the game. Yeah, it's not that complicated, I'm just killing it in the script writing department today. Just like the segue to the next section. Now, the first thing that comes to anybody's mind when they think of a video game is the graphics. We're talking 8-bit, nah, 16-bit, get out of here, 32-bit, no! We don't want any of that old stuff. We're talking next gen. We're talking GameCube. We're talking... What? What the fuck was that? Where's my realistic graphics like Ocarina of Time? Or at least as realistic as they can be for 1998. This is 2003, Give me that Unreal 2, Max Payne 2, Tron 2. There were a lot of 2s that year. Just anything. Don't give me this cartoon shit. For real though, this was a major issue at the time, with a lot of people not even willing to play the game because they said it looks like a kid's game. But now, nearly 20 years after its release, I absolutely love it, and I think its unique art style really lends itself to just being timeless, allowing you to go back to this game time after time, and never looking like age today. And sadly, the same can't be said of other games that released that year. Take, for instance, Knights of the Old Republic, a fantastic game, just gets dragged down by its visuals. And that's just scratching the surface. While Wind Waker may not have released much love among fans, critics wouldn't stop raving about the game, receiving 10 out of 10s across the board. I mean, come on, even Nintendo Power gave it 5 out of 5. Way to pat yourself on the back with that one, Nintendo. I know everyone looks at Ocarina of Time as the perfect Zelda game, but Wind Waker was pretty darn close, with a fantastic story and an open world, and oh my goodness, what an open world! The game gives you your typical little sister gets kidnapped, evil bird, dark lord, pirates with a cannon that shoots a bunch of flowers, you know, your standard intro to a video game. But once it opens up, oh boy does it open up! With a massive map that feels like it takes 30 minutes to travel from end to end, because it did, and that was a major issue that was fixed in the HD version of the game. You have so much to explore, and that's what this game does right. For being a great empty ocean, it kind of fails at, being empty. Everywhere you go, there's some new monster, something new to do, and the bosses, oh, get ready for the bosses. We have a giant pig, half a guy, and a giant plant. Okay, so maybe bosses aren't this game's strong suit, and it definitely missed on several, but there are some really memorable ones in here, like Puppet Ganon, and Puppet Ganon, and Puppet Ganon. Okay, so that fight was really good. I loved that fight. And so what, this game might not have the best boss fights of all time, but you know what it does have? As a talking boat. Does your favorite game have a talking boat? A fucking talking boat. Okay, you heard me. Oh. Wind Waker takes place, well, somewhere on the Zelda timeline. Don't get me started on this thing, it's a mess. While Zelda games have long been accused of following the same story game after game of Zelda getting kidnapped, Link saving her happily ever after, Wind Waker completely flips the whole thing on its head. Okay, this time, Zelda's a pirate. For a bit, and then she's a princess again. Come on, we don't want people going crazy, do we? With 49 different islands for you to explore, you can only imagine how much this game can do for its story, and that's not even mentioning the side quests. And this story does everything right. It even has Ganondorf become incredibly reflective on what he's done by the end of the game, and really makes you think and put yourself in the shoes of this ancient dark force and realize maybe there's more to him. Maybe he's not just mindless evil, and he's just like any of us, hurt, scared, and just doing what he has to do. But then you realize this is a Zelda game, and you're reading way too deep into any of this. And that's great and everything, but Wind Waker's greatest accomplishment was that they made Tingle an important character to the game. Not only did they somehow find a way to give him more personality, they gave him his own island, okay? Not only do you need him to help you find the Triforce, but he also gives you the Tingle Tuner. This thing's fucking useless. I literally just found out what it did 20 minutes ago while I was writing the script. For real, that this game is one of my all-time favorite games, and there's a reason you don't see a review for it below a 9 out of 10 anywhere. Because really, Wind Waker is one of the best stories and most memorable characters of any Zelda game of the series. And it's not just because the unique art style makes him stick out, but because the game doesn't take itself too seriously. Even in its most serious moments, like when Link is about to get shot into the Forbidden Fortress, the literal fortress of evil filled with hundreds of monsters, the most dangerous place in the entire game, it still has time to play one of the silliest cutscenes in the whole series. And these characters really help set this game apart, because you never hear anyone saying, Phantom Hourglass was my favorite game. No, because you didn't even remember Phantom Hourglass existed until I just said it. The game isn't perfect though, and it does have some major flaws, like a bird girl who can fly is Sage of the Earth Temple, while a stick boy, a literal plant, is Sage of the Wind Temple. Nintendo, explain!